friends. Welcome back to the next session on Service Operations Management or Operations Planning, Scheduling and Control. Now let's begin with our learning. In this particular session, we'll be understanding and dealing with the concept of Lean MRP, the learning objectives. At the end of this particular session, the learners will be able to understand or define the term Lean MRP, explain the various roles of operations planning in Lean MRP, describe how Lean MRP is being implemented in a business organization or a manufacturing unit. So from this particular slide, now let's begin what do we mean by a Lean MRP. Lean MRP is a collection of creative management methods that use your existing ERP system to increase on-time performance, lead times, and WIP inventory, that is a work process inventory. So that isn't your typical yada system, which has been implemented in a business organization. So in the job shop context, with the substantial bills of materials, the Lean MRP paradigm provides the prospect of transformative changes. So in a simple terms, Lean MRP is a collection of various creative management thoughts. So how do we implement the creative management thoughts and techniques due to which the various activities that have been already associated with an MRP can be conducted in a very effective way. So effective management and conduction of activities in a business organization is the concept of an Lean MRP. What does it focuses on? The concept of Lean MRP focuses on increasing on-time performance, reducing the lead times and work in progress inventory. So how do we control the inventory for the work in progress time and how those activities can be conducted? The paradigm also provides for the prospect of transformative changes. So what changes can be implemented in the business organization and how those changes can be implemented in the long run as well as in the short run for better productivity and creation of goods and services in the business consideration or the manufacturing unit. Now let's understand what the various procedures or activities that have been performed in case of an Lean MRP. So here we'll take into account the various features of the MRP system. The first feature of the MRP system is it evaluates materials availability based on the required manufacturing dates. So whatever the manufacturing dates that have been assessed or that have been identified, that have been set, the Lean MRP system looks for a consideration that how do we evaluate and how do we look into consideration that whatever amount of material that will be required is available or not. So evaluation and assessment of the material that is being required and how do we assess the availability of that particular material based on the required manufacturing dates is the major feature of the Lean MRP. So right material, right availability on the right time at the right place is the consideration of Lean MRP. The second feature is effective product design and specification. So whatever product design and specifications we have, it should be very effective, it should be very creative, and it should be an attractive consideration for the people or for the considerations in the people or in the long organization. So when a customer looks at a certain product, that particular product must be very qualitative, it must be very designed, it must be very thoughtful, and it must also have various specifications that have been implemented in the business organization. So effective product design and specification is essentially important. And on those particular basis, the product is being created and accordingly, the manufacturing activities are being undertaken. The third feature or the factors that needs to be undertaken is creates necessary MIS reports management. So management information system or the reports management is needed to be undertaken into account. And on the basis of various MIS reports, we need to create the various reports that needs to be reported to the management. So creation of various databases, creation of various reports is essentially important, and keeping of upkeep maintenance of records is also helped with the help of MRP system, which is into place. The fourth feature or the factor or the activity that can be performed in case of an MRP system is provisions to capacity requirement planning, that is CRP. So for an capacity requirement planning, it is very essential to identify what amount of quantity of materials, goods, and services will be required and how those quantity of materials, goods, and services will be implemented and used in a business organization. So capacity requirement planning is essentially important, and on those particular basis, the CRP can be undertaken in a very better and effective way. So CRP, that is capacity requirement planning, focuses on how those activities can be performed and in the short run as well as in the long run, how those activities can be made available for the availability of material, for the availability of goods, services, and so on. The fifth feature of MRP system is machines and work-centric capacity planning. So what are the machines that needs to be employed? Which machine needs to be put to use? How those particular machines need to be used? What is the time duration for which the composition or the usage of machinery needs to be undertaken, and so on. So machine and work center capacity. So a profit center, a work center, allocation, a job shop, a job planning activity, everything planning that needs to be undertaken with respect to a machine or a work center is the concept of MRP system that can be implemented in the business organization. The sixth perspective or the component is the shop floor control and the quality assurances. So what are the various quality assurances that have been associated in the business organization or a manufacturing unit, and how those activities that can be controlled at the shop floor level. So shop floor control and the quality assurance activities that needs to be undertaken is also one of the feature and participants of the MRP system. The seventh perspective is the provisions to sales analysis and forecasting. So depending on the manufacturing unit, depending on the demand for a certain product in a certain market, we need to identify what are the various provisions to the sales analysis, what will be the number or the quantity demanded for a certain product, and how do we identify the quantity that has been demanded for a certain product in a market scenario. So provisions to the sales analysis, that is the quantity that will be supplied, the quantity that will be demanded for a certain market, and on those particular basis, we need to have a plan or a certain forecast of those activities. And lastly, the eighth feature is labor capacity planning and equipment planning. So what planning that we have or that we have implemented in terms of labor management, capacity planning and equipment planning. That is, what are the equipment that will be required in the short run as well as in the long run, and how we upkeep the maintenance of those goods, services, machines, material, men, features, capital, product, capital, products, and so on. So these are the various features of the MRP system, due to which all the activities in the manufacturing unit or the shop floor level can be conducted in a very better and effective way, and we can implement a lean MRP in a better consideration. Now let's understand what is the background and usage of MRP. So instead of vice versa, lean MRP focuses on creating a solid production schedule that effectively drives the shop floor. So in order to see that all the shop floor activities have been conducted in very effective way, it drives all the series of activities in a better consideration. The lean MRP has been implemented, or it focuses on creating a better production schedule. So better production schedule to match the concept of demand and supply. So whatever demand is there into a particular market, the supply of those commodities needs to be undertaken, and hence effective planning of those activities on the shop floor level is the concept of lean MRP. The initial goal of a lean MRP is to eliminate the schedule data, that is variations and volatility, which offers the business a production plan that is based on customer requirements rather than the ebb and tide of the shop floor. So in order it does not focus on the increase or decrease in the shop floor level, but it simultaneously focuses on scheduling the date, time of a particular product. So what time, at what place, what duration, what quantity raw material or the product will be required, and how to maintain its volatility. That is, if there are certain variations or changes in the product or certain commodity, then how those particular variations can be managed, it can be altered, and on the basis of customer requirements, customer demand, how the production planning activities can be undertaken in a very better consideration. So that is the concept of explaining of the customer requirements. The second goal of the lean MRP technique is to create a lean shop floor control system that embraces the concepts of pull-based flow, utilizing your existing ERP system once we have created a stable schedule. So once a proper schedule is into existence, the organization or the activity that is being undertaken in case of a lean MRP, it focuses on creating a certain activity which brings or embraces the concept of pull-based flow utilization. That is, it try to absorb all the activities that are being conducted in the business organization, and how effective utilization of all the resources can be taken in a better consideration. So having a better ERP system in case of an existing ERP system is needed to be taken into account, and from those particular basis, the lean MRP techniques can be implemented for the better consideration of those activities. Now let's understand what the various operational plan for success of lean MRP. So for a successful lean MRP implementation, which is designed for manufacturing executives, we have to always be aspired to run a lean operations, but believe that a computerized system is more feasible. So we must have a proper computerized system which takes into account a feasible and scalable option for managing a big, complicated and turbulent shop floor. So whatever activities may be, whether the activities are increasing, whether the activities are decreasing, whether they are high scale or small scale activities, whether the production activities either increasing or decreasing, the lean MRP system should be of a certain consideration that it accommodates or it considers all the operational activities, and accordingly the various complications are reduced at the various turbulent times. So whatever will be the changes, increase or decrease, ups and downs in those considerations, the lean MRP system should be acceptable to all the changes in the market scenario, and all those scenarios must be considered in a better consideration for effective production and operational management activities. This unique technique, it also assists the manufacturers in high risk of industry using contract manufacturing, aerospace, and industrial equipment. So not only for the small scale business operations or activities, the concept of lean MRP can be applied for the high scale operations activities, may it be a call of an contract manufacturing, the aerospace industry, the industrial equipments manufacturing or processing, or assembling of certain equipments and units, and so on. So for an automobile industry, aerospace industry, or a technology-based industry, for every consideration, the lean MRP system can be implemented and it can be brought in for certain access in the business organizations. Now let's understand what are the various applications of MRP plan. So the MRP plan can be applied for various departments or various concerns, that is QC and QA, that is quality control and quality assurance portal. So any departments or any stores organization wherein we have the concept of MRP and QC and QA, for all those considerations, the lean MRP can be applied. For an engineering portal, wherein the various engineering activity needs to be undertaken, for those considerations also, the engineering portal, that is MRP, can be applied. That is material requirement planning. The planning portal for planning of various goods, services, and commodities, the planning portal can be implemented and all those activities can be conducted in a very better and effective way. For the shop floor portal level, that is the activity that needs to be conducted and the shop floor level. For the shop floor activities also, the MRP, that is material requirement planning, can be implemented, or it can be material resource planning. Shipment portal, that is when the goods are being moving from one department to another department, from the finished store, that is inventory, or the store department, or for the finished or the final product or the finished goods is been ready and they have been shipped for the delivery to the customers. So for the shipment portal also. The stores portal, wherein the goods and services have been stored, the raw material or the inventory has been stored, and so on. So the stores portal also, the MRP plan can be applied. And lastly, for the QC and QA, that is quality control and quality assurance portal also, the concept of MRP, that is material requirement planning or material resource planning, can be applied. Now let's understand the application of material planning in respect of various components, that is MRP and ERP. The concept of planning is essentially important. The concept of shop floor, the concept of shipment, the concept of stores, the Q and QC, and lastly, the engineering. Now let's understand what is the emphasis of these particular plans. So the plan of MRP that has been prepared. So some of may be surprised to learn that lean manufacturing ideas may be applied to an ERP systems, which is always termed as a backbone of the material requirement planning. The principles to improve the manufacturing processes. So simultaneously, the activity that is being undertaken for the lean manufacturing is applied for an ERP system. And at many a times, ERP system is considered as a backbone of MRP, that is material requirement planning. So always these activities, that is ERP and MRP, goes hand in hand, and the principles to improve the manufacturing operations have been undertaken by both the consideration, that is the MRP also, and by the ERP systems also. So it has an emphasis for developing a system or a scenario for developing in a greater construct. The pull tactics in lean are being focused on production execution rather than planning. So the lean manufacturing ideas can be used in ERP system as a replacement or more, and commonly as an addition to the ERP production module. So the various pull techniques and all those considerations can be applied in lean MRP system. And on those particular basis, we can have a certain ideas which can implement a replacement of more commonly as an addition to the ERP modulation or ERP system. So in the long run or in a particular short run, we can implement those particular activities, and accordingly, those activities can be undertaken in better consideration for a better delivery of product to the customers. So now let's conclude what we have learned in this particular session. So MRP, that is material requirement planning or resource planning, is an element of an ERP systems planning function, which comprises the full integrated suite of software that a manufacturing firm utilizes it or its operational activities to a business production, purchasing, order management, financial accounting, and more. So simultaneously, many activities in case of an ERP and MRP are being undertaken, and on the basis of activities, those activities are being implemented at all the levels, may it be production, may it be purchasing, order management, finance departments, and so on. In case of an technology, like in life, opposites can collide in expected way. Such in the case of lean school method, the ERP can also approach and collide in the different organizations. So simultaneously, a coordination of activities in terms of a lean MRP or an ERP system can be implemented, and both activities can be performed. Now let's summarize what we have learned in this particular session. In this particular session, we have understood what do we mean by lean MRP, which planning is been required in case of an implementing an lean MRP, and lastly, how to implement a lean MRP system in a business organization. I hope you must have enjoyed the learning in this particular session. We'll stay connected and we'll continue with our learning. Thank you for your patience listening. Thank you.